At the beginning of the story, we are shown a devastated world. The entire land has become barren. The story is set in an area of Australia called the Green Place of Different Mothers. In this land, there was still some water left, and crops were grown, producing fruits. Many women also lived there. In this area, a girl named Feriosa went to pick a ripe fruit when she heard some commotion near her area. Upon approaching, she saw many bikers, and Feriosa cut the oil pipe of one of the bikes. Just as she was about to cut the pipe of another biker saw her. Before he could catch her, Feriosa struck him in the leg with a knife and ran away. As she ran, she started blowing a loud whistle to alert the people of the area about the impending danger. Before she could reach the populated area safely, one of the bikers threw a rope at her and successfully stopped her. These bikers then started taking Feriosa away. On the other side, Feriosa's mother and all the warriors of the area mounted their horses and began chasing the bikers to rescue Feriosa. While riding, Feriosa's mother slashed the throat of a biker, after which they took his bike. Before they could use this bike to rescue Feriosa, the people of the area gave her some seeds and reminded her that no matter what happens, the people of the other area should never find out about the Green Place, and none of those who have seen the Green Place should survive. Hearing this, she sped ahead, attacking and killing a biker. The two bikers in front stopped to see what had happened. When they were found, Feriosa's mother was seen coming from a distance. Frightened, they doubled back on their bikes, but Feriosa took the opportunity to cut the oil pipe of the bike she was tied to. Feriosa's mother fixed her bike with spare parts from the dead biker's bike and used the fuel from that bike to continue chasing the bikers. The bike that Feriosa was tied to also ran out of fuel because she had cut its fuel pipe. In such a situation, the two bikers got into a fight, and taking advantage of the opportunity, Feriosa managed to free her hands and run away. She couldn't reach home because the bikers caught her again and started heading back to their area with her. By morning, Feriosa's mother had reached their camp. There, she saw the bikers who had come to the Green Place and Feriosa with them. She shot one of the bikers, but the other biker managed to safely reach his people and informed them that they had found the Green Place with many resources. Hearing this, Feriosa realized that her people and the Green Place were now in danger. She decided to prevent this and, in front of everyone, she hanged the man with a rope and killed him by pulling him off the bike. She and her mother killed all the bikers who knew the location of the Green Place. The remaining bikers took her to their leader because he was the one who could lead them to the Green Place. The bikers' leader was cunning. He behaved well and told everyone to take care of him, so he could deceive them into revealing the location of the Green Place. At night, Feriosa's mother also reached this camp. She disguised herself by wearing the clothes of the dead bikers and was there to find Feriosa. She went to every camp and shot everyone who wasn't Feriosa. Eventually, she reached the camp where Feriosa was likely held. She was about to kill the last girl there, but the girl pleaded not to kill her, saying she was like her daughter. Hearing this, Feriosa's mother spared her and took Feriosa on her bike and escaped. However, she didn't know that the girl she spared would betray her. The girl sounded the emergency alarm, and many people started chasing Feriosa and her mother. Two bikers bombarded them, causing Feriosa's mother's clothes to catch fire. To extinguish the fire, she removed her army suit and got back on the bike, fleeing as fast as possible. Despite going very far, the bikers continued to pursue them. They were right behind them. Feriosa's mother realized they couldn't escape, so she got off the bike, gave it to Feriosa, and told her to go home alone. She also gave her a small bag and instructed her to deliver it once she got back. Feriosa's mother stayed behind to shoot at the bikers, but, fighting alone, she was soon overpowered by them. Feriosa was captured by the bikers, and she watched as they brutally killed her mother right in front of her eyes. Afterward, the bikers' leader dressed her in clothes similar to theirs, locked her in a cage, and forced her to witness their brutal entertainments. Feriosa remembered her mother's words and decided to endure, hoping for a chance to escape. An old man among the bikers suggested she learn to read and write, promising it would make her useful to their leader and spare her from torture. However, she ignored him and secretly tattooed a map on her arm, marking the way back to the Green Place, fearing she might forget it someday. Time passed, and one day, the bikers were heading somewhere when they spotted a red smoke signal in the distance. Realizing there were people living there, they followed the smoke and arrived at a fortress ruled by Immortan Joe. He had water, grew food, and distributed it to his soldiers, who were fiercely loyal and willing to die for him. The bikers, who were short on resources, threatened to attack if he didn't cooperate. In response, Immortan Joe mockingly ordered one of his war boys to sacrifice himself, demonstrating his army's devotion and readiness to die for him. The bikers were left with no choice but to retreat, but as they tried to escape, the leader noticed that Feriosa had fallen into a pit. Risking his life, he rescued her, and they managed to flee. On their way, they came across another fortress called Gastown, where oil was refined, powering Immortan Joe's weapons and vehicles. The bikers' leader planned to take over Gastown, thinking they could then blackmail Immortan Joe with the oil supply. However, Gastown was heavily secured. To infiltrate, the bikers disguised some of their members as war boys and approached the gates. When the gates opened, they killed the disguised war boys and began their takeover. To demonstrate their power, they informed Gastown that they had captured Immortan Joe's fortress and enslaved his people. Seeing this, Gastown also opened their gates to them. After taking control of Gastown, the bikers' leader, Dementus, cut off the fingers of Gastown's leader and sent them to Immortan Joe. This made Immortan Joe realize that Dementus was gradually gaining power. Joe knew that his strength lay in the oil, which Dementus had now taken over. Thus, Joe sent a meeting invitation to Dementus. Dementus, who needed basic supplies that only Immortan Joe had, took the leader of Gastown to meet Joe. The Gastown leader was Joe's brother and was very ill, relying on machines to keep his body functioning. To blackmail Joe, Dementus tortured his brother with these machines and then killed him. He then told Joe that he had planted bombs all over Gastown and only he knew how to activate or disable them. If Joe wanted to save Gastown, he had to make Dementus the leader of Gastown. Otherwise, he would lose it. While they were talking, Joe's daughter was nearby. Joe said, "Fine, I'll make you the leader of Gastown, but in return, I want your daughter and a biker." Furiosa interjected, saying, "I'm not his daughter. He killed my mother and kidnapped me." This angered Dementus, who took his daughter's doll from her and handed her over to Immortan Joe before leaving. Furiosa was then taken to a place where many of Immortan Joe's wives lived. She became one of his wives and stayed in his harem. The women there were very kind and treated her well, but Furiosa remained focused on how Immortan Joe forced all these girls to stay with him. She witnessed Joe ordering the live burial of his newborn daughter in a fit of rage. Immortan Joe only wanted sons. It wasn't that he didn't have sons. He had many, but none of them were healthy in his eyes. That's why he kept them all as war boys. He hoped that one day, a healthy son would be born to him who would rule his kingdom like he did. We see that one of Immortan Joe's sons sets his eyes on Furiosa. He grabs her by the hair and tries to assault her, but she escapes by cutting her hair. The next time, she didn't want this to happen again, so she shaved her head and made a wig using net and wax. We see that she still had the small bag her mother had given her, which she had kept safe all this time. The next time the boy came to harass her and grabbed her hair, Furiosa left the wig in his hands and ran away. The boy chased after her but was confronted by his own brother, who asked what he was doing there. Furiosa had no answer and dropped what she was holding, fearing punishment if their father saw them. The boy tried to find Furiosa but couldn't because she had disguised herself as a boy. She managed to save her dignity and got a job fitting chains inside Immortan Joe's big machines. She was very fast, so she became proficient at the work. 15 years later, Furiosa had grown up, and no one recognized her as a girl because she pretended to be mute and diligently followed Immortan Joe's rules, earning his trust. Joe assigned her to create a large drill capable of destroying anything. They succeeded in building such a machine and attached it to a truck. During the first test drive, Dementus men attacked, parachuting onto the machine and bombing the war boys. The driver, Jack, didn't stop the truck but kept driving. Dementus men also attacked the truck, causing a major fault. Furiosa bravely went under the moving truck to fix the fault so Jack could drive faster. While she was working, one of Dementus' men placed a bomb under the truck. Furiosa not only managed to stop him but also killed him and removed the bomb, saving the truck. After fixing the truck's fault, she climbed back inside. Outside, the bikers were still attacking the war boys. When one of the bikers attacked the small truck, it collided with the larger truck, causing Furiosa to be jolted and hit her head. Her wig flew off, revealing to Jack that she was a girl. Despite this, they focused on fighting off the airborne bikers and managed to kill them. After dealing with their enemies, Furiosa held Jack at gunpoint, knowing he could be a threat. But Jack assured her that he didn't care about her gender and recognized her as a skilled warrior. He emphasized that their mission was to control the rig and asked her to work with him as a team member. Furiosa agreed, and they took the rig into Gastown. Upon arrival, no one recognized Furiosa because she had grown up significantly. They found out that Dementus' oil supply had run out, and in exchange, he was taking supplies from Immortan Joe. Jack asked for a meeting with Joe, but Joe refused to give them any supplies unless they met in person. So, the bikers attacked and started stealing all the food. To save the supplies, Furiosa drove the truck out, with Jack guarding it from those trying to approach. They managed to evade their pursuers and sent a message to Immortan Joe. During the fight, Furiosa was hit by an arrow. Jack removed the arrow from her shoulder and stitched her up. During their conversations, they grew closer. Jack asked her how her parents died, and Furiosa explained that she had been kidnapped by bikers and left there. She then showed him the map to Green Place that her mother had given her, etched onto her hand. She still hoped to reach there one day. Jack promised her, "I'll try my best to get you to your place." Furiosa said, "I want you to come with me." Meanwhile, they received a message from Immortan Joe that he was going to meet Dementus and they needed to prepare their forces to follow him. Jack didn't put Furious in the rig, but instead assigned her to drive a leather truck, planning to deceive everyone and reach Green Place with that truck. As they reached Gastown, one truck managed to enter. Jack then signaled Furious to turn away, indicating he was calling the war boys for battle with a green smoke. Furious, feeling betrayed, left alone but returned to Gastown to help Jack. She started shooting with her sniper rifle, killing Dementus with a precise shot. Jack then crashed through the gates of Gastown with the rig, using the attached drill to destroy the structure. Bikers attacked to stop him, causing Jack to fall into a pit. Furious arrived just in time, rescuing him with a chain from a bike, and they escaped in another truck. Their plan was to reach Green Place, knowing they were being pursued. Furious attacked their pursuers with a gun, but her hand, where she had the map, got caught between the trucks. They were captured by Dementus. Dementus men tied Jack to a bike, dragging him in circles close to death, while Furious was chained up. Dementus watched for entertainment. When he got bored, he saw that Furious had escaped, leaving her severed arm behind. Dementus chased her in his truck but found that she had removed his truck's tire, causing an accident. Furious continued on a bike, but it ran out of fuel, forcing her to continue on foot. Exhausted and bleeding under the scorching sun, she eventually fainted. She was fortunate that a war boy saw her and brought her to their camp. She was treated, and when she regained consciousness, she desperately demanded to meet Immortan Joe. When she was taken to him, she warned that Dementus was planning an attack on them and intended to destroy Gastown. Immortan Joe devised a plan to reach Gastown before Dementus could carry out his plan. As they approached Gastown, Dementus saw them and declared war. A fierce battle ensued between the two parties, lasting for weeks, with both sides suffering heavy losses. During this chaos, Furious crafted a mechanical arm and found a spare tire to repair her car. Heading back to the battlefield, she saw Immortan Joe's sons repairing their vehicles and weapons. She managed to get a tire to fix her car. She then encountered Dementus and his surviving men, who were fleeing. Furious quickly intervened, using her car to ram into them, killing all except Dementus. Spotting Dementus escaping on a bike, she realized his bike was also damaged. Furious approached him, knowing she could kill him easily but choosing not to. Instead, she wanted Dementus to remember who she was and why she was after him. She called him torture so intensely that he fainted. When he came to, she reminded him that she was the girl he had kidnapped 15 years ago, the one whose mother he had killed before her eyes. Dementus still couldn't remember Feriosa properly, so Feriosa tied him securely and cut his teddy bear. Now, Bupesh wants to know who he really is. He apologizes and says, "If you forgive me, we can both meet. We can rule here everywhere. You are very brave to hear these things." Hearing this, he drops his teddy bear to the ground again, after which he said he had seen him on the head. Then people thought he was killed again, but it was not so. In fact, he buried him alive and put his pitch tree on top of him, which his mother had given him. The ground had made Dementus nutrients, meaning that a power-sucking cake had made a very big tea, and on top of it had grown a pitch that all Dementus was watching with his eyes. This was only his last time. Then maybe he died. See, you end it differently, looking at a very ordinary number which can have all his wives through all the Immortan Joe cat referee takes them. They rescue and take them from the Green Place, showing them to the end of the story.